Hey everyone, Eric here from Engramic, and today we're going to be talking about our plugin system. Really proud of this because we put a lot of thought into it and tried to make it as simple and flexible and extensible as possible. There are a ton of advancements happening in AI, and we want to give you the ability to choose whatever LLM or whatever vector database that you want to use. And so we provided this plugin system to give you that type of flexibility. So today we're going to cover a little bit about how we implemented it. This is a great video for you if you want to have a primer on how our plugin system works, or if you're just interested in Pluggy, you can take a look at how we've implemented it, and you can dive into our code since it's open source and take a look for yourself and have your own implementation of Pluggy for your system. So I've included this list of vendors, and I'm sure it's partial because the space is huge and there's so much investment that there's always going to be a new player on to add to this list. And on any given week, any one of these players could be the next big technology for AI. And so we have to be able to support them quickly and easily without just throwing them all into the code base and having a huge bloated system that includes everybody's dependencies. So that's the problem that we're dealing with. So we can explain this a little bit further by looking at the architecture that we've designed for our plugins. So here you can see we have our host system, and the host system contains all of the services that we run. And the way that the system is developed, you don't really have to think about the underlying implementation when you work at the service level. You just kind of write the code that you need, and then you get familiar with the categories such as LLM and vector database, and then the usage, which is listed across the top, things like summarize or the main prompt. These are all different categories of how we use the underlying AI technology. So in this implementation, you'd see something, this is a very OpenAI heavy implementation, and it's got the OpenAI dependencies included. But the plugin system we built would also support you being able to mix and match. So you could have some of the usage be fulfilled by Anthropic. Maybe an Anthropic model is better at a specific usage case. And so we give you the ability to be not just change out one big vendor for another, but at a very granular level, our plugin system will let you switch out independent vendors so that you can choose whatever you think is the best to use at right now. So the glue that holds all these systems together is the engrams_profiles.toml file, which is located at the root directory. There you'll find a listing of profiles that contain a number of plugins. And again, we see this concept of category. In this case, I said LLM, and of usage. In this case, I said validate. Now, that points to a name, and that name is a special category, a special attribute that tells the system where to look and what object you're going to be loading for that plugin. So you can see in the directory here, I have it pointed to mock, which is what is implemented. And you could go look at that file and take a look at that implementation. So I've shown on the right-hand side, top right-hand side, some code examples of how to load a plugin and how to call a plugin. But typically, if you're just using the services that are already made, you don't have to know what that code does. But if you want to implement your own service, that gives you a hint on how you would do it. Okay, let's move on and look at a little bit more detail of the TOML file. So here you can see I have the name for this block. It's called mock that describes all of the different usage, and it's pointing to different usage cases and giving them different names. I've also added on some additional parameters, which is something that you can pass in as well, both here statically as part of your TOML implementation, but also in the code as well. We'll take dynamic parameters as well. And we specify which profile we're using when we're creating the host. So you can see here that the name of mock corresponds, and that's how the system knows which profile it's using. Another nifty feature of profiles is that some of them can be named, like you saw, but others can be pointers. So in this case, we have one called standard, which is a pointer to a dated profile. Now, if you don't really want to manage your profiles and you just want to use something that will be updated by us through releases, you could point it at standard. And that way, when we create a new version of standard that's dated, we can update the pointer and you can get the latest versions or the recommendation of what is considered standard for the profile based on the release. So that keeps it nice and easy. And then things will evolve and you'll always get the latest versions as defined by that profile standard. Imagine we might have others that could be performance or cost and that we could optimize for. And again, we could update the dated profiles and you can just get the benefit of our work or the community work to come up with what the latest profiles are. All right, let's wrap this up. Just to be thorough, I wanted to show the TOML file that's located with the plugin itself. It just contains some basic information about the plugins and contains the dependencies, which is really nifty because, again, the plugin system, when you configure it and choose your profile on its first run, if it doesn't have the dependencies it needs, then it will load the dependencies. Keeps things really clean and tidy so that you're not having to bring in all the dependencies that you're not using. All right. Lastly, if you want to learn more, just jump into the code. Plugin Manager contains pretty much most of the implementation and plugin specifications as well. And then you can see the actual plugins themselves, or go take a look at a service and you can take a look at the get plugin call to see how we're using it. It's all pretty straightforward, and I think it'll be helpful for you. So if you're looking to create your own service or to create your own plugin, dive in, get your hands dirty. There's no substitute. All right, that's it for now. Get building, have fun. I'm going to get back to work and I'm going to get back into this code base. That's it for now.